On the other hand, you do not have maize. You do not have, granules. You do not have all the other items. So the temptation and the only way out is to utilize the rice. So at the end of the day, you may have large quantities of rice, and in no time you exhaust it. And other times you actually run into very critical situations where it is even out of the way. I remember just, my school is a double track school. Shortly before the Form 3s and the Form 2s went, we actually ran on food supply. It got to a time that if some consignment had not arrived within 2 days, we would have virtually not been feeding the students.
Currently, there are feeding challenges. Honestly speaking, we don't have food. We don't have. Since we were open, we're giving food for 3 weeks. We exhausted it. Last week, we went back for 30 bags of rice. But these 30 bags, if I have all my population on campus, I take 20 bags a week. The second years and third years are on campus. I take 15 bags a week. So it means that the 30 bags will do for only 2 weeks. The rest of the food items, gari, soya bean, maize, and a lot of them are not available.
The feeding, the old challenges. We say have the old challenges, but last week we were giving 35 bags of rice. At least they have also made some small payment for perishable that we can buy the perishable. But the challenge would be the buffer stock items. So when school reopened, we were giving some few items. We depended on that up to a point last week, which they brought in. They asked us, we went for some rice. We went for 35 bags of rice. So that's what we are managing on for now.
Many school heads are hard-pressed in their bid to feed the students properly.
So that is the situation in so many senior high schools that we went to. So that is the conversation tonight on Ghana Connect, and I'm really interested in knowing what your own experiences are. Do you have family, friends, relatives who are in senior high school? And what is the situation? Please send us a WhatsApp message 055 1111997. 055 1111997. But in studio with me connecting on this important conversation, Kwaku Amedume is with the Buffer Stock Suppliers Association. Mr. Amedume, good evening, and it's good to have you connect with us.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners too.
Abigail Addo is a former free SHS student, so she's been through the system. She'll tell us what she's been able to pick up and how she relates with the conversation we've had today. Abigail, good to have you connect with us.
Good evening, Kwaku. Good evening to all your listeners.
Willis Kobe Idrisu is the executive director at Legends, and he's also joining us in studio. Willis, good to have you connect with us.
Good evening, Kwaku. Good evening to everybody.
Bright Boachi Addo is also a former free SHS student. He is leading a group of senior high school students now. He will join us pretty shortly. And then Charles Maffa is also a Zambian journalist. And okay, so we'll get to Charles Maffa shortly. He's a Zambian journalist, and he also has some experience on how their country is implementing a similar program and what lessons we can all draw from there. So let me come in studio. Let me start from Abigail. Abigail, what was the situation when you were in school, free SHS student? What was the feeding situation like?
Okay, so I was enrolled in the second batch of the free SHS program, and then at the initial stages, the food was good. It wasn't the best though, but at least it was good. But then as time went on, it got bad. From the beginning, we used to have wache, gari, and sausage for lunch on Wednesdays, but later it was changed to just wache and gari. We used to have beans with plantain and potatoes. And then later, it was just changed to beans and gari. Sometimes I think there's no gari, just the beans. And then it was watery. The quality alone was bad. The quantity too, it got to a point, they just reduced it. It was very, very bad. And then when you eat, sometimes you don't get satisfied. And then, when COVID came, our parents weren't allowed to visit us. So it looks like we had to depend on the school food. And then the school food too, it was bad. And then the quantity too was... it was also not good.
I mean, so you like food. You look like someone who likes food a lot. So I mean, the quantity wasn't that enough for you.
Exactly.
And your mates.
Exactly.
So you had to rely a lot on your chop boxes.
Yes.
Were there times that there was just no food in the dining hall, or you're always served, but the food may not have been enough?
Okay, so my time we were always served. But just that the food wasn't enough.
Okay, so Abigail is telling us a story from when she was in school. Abigail, hold it there for me. I'll come back to you again. But Kwaku Amedume is with the Buffer Stock Suppliers Association. They supply food to a lot of these senior high school, and in fact, very recently they had calls to picket at the Buffer Stock Company, demanding their unpaid due. What is happening? We have food in the system. Buffer Stock Supplies, you have food. So why is the food not getting to the schools?
Thank you once again for giving us this opportunity to also share our views on this your program. The problem bedeviling the implementation of the free SHS program has to do with cash. Has to do with cash in the sense that nothing less, nothing more. If government has money to pay suppliers, food will definitely get to the schools. As you speak, government is owing close to 300. Buffer is owing suppliers 187 million. And commodity exchange is owing the suppliers close to 100 and something million. So if you have cash, government holding cash of suppliers up to 300 million Ghana cedis, you don't expect food delivery up to 80-100% on the campuses. There will definitely be those complaints you're talking about. And in attempt to solve these problems, I've heard a lot of arguments and suggestions, especially on some of your Joy programs, Joy News yesterday. And I heard very wonderful suggestions coming from the panelists on the board. Some suggested to the fact that food delivery or procurement should be handed over to the head teachers to do their own procurement. This is untenable because the problem has nothing to do with efficiency or deficiency. If there are deficiencies, we have to look to correct it. But whilst we are correcting those deficiencies, we need money to run the deficiencies. Teachers cannot claim efficiency over buffer stock. Buffer stock has been in this business with suppliers for a very long time, even before the inception of free SHS in 2017. These are old men, women who have access to market with huge capitals, and they've been doing that for quite some time now. They cannot be blamed for not delivering food to the schools.
Okay, Kwaku, I'll come back to you again. I mean, there are those who say that if government owes you, government is certainly going to pay, even if it's for so many years. So why don't you probably supply food so that they? Okay.
You cannot hold somebody's business capital for over a year. Over government don't have money, government. You are crippling the businesses of the supplier. The free HSS is suffering, and the business of food supply is also suffering because you don't have the money, and that's why the program is suffering.
Okay, I'll come back to you again with stuff for some more and for some more particulars. I'll come to Willis also shortly. But Bright Ado has also joined us. Bright Ado leads a group of senior high school students who benefited from the free senior high school program. Bright is joining us on Zoom. Bright, we've heard from Abigail talk about the situation in her school. The food situation was a bit better, then it degenerated. The food quality got bad, and the quantity also kept reducing. Is that the same story you tell?
All right, good evening to you and your cherished listeners. The story is different during my time. When we were back in SHS, we are the first batch of free SHS. That's in 2017 September. So the food situation there was very, very, very good. For now, fine. Probably with everything, there would be some challenges though, but as compared to ours was very better and very excellent.
Okay, right. So Bright tells a different story. Bright is out of school now. He was part of the first batch of students who benefited from the free senior school program after it was launched by the president in 2017. Well, so this is what we call our future leaders, right? And senior high school is a very important formative period in the life of adolescents, young people. and they're not getting enough food. It's been so perverse for so many months now. What's your reaction?
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share my views. My name is Wallace. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Wallace Kobi Idrisu. I'm the executive director of the Legend. We are a youth-led organization, and our main mandate is to promote political education amongst the youth. That is our main mandate, and also to hold our leaders accountable for every promises that they've made to us. Okay, so that's just about Legend. So about the free senior high, I want to give you a political snapshot of the whole thing. It is a good idea. I'm not aligned with any of the political parties, so it is a good idea, free SS. The only problem that I have with it is the sustainability. It's a good idea, but government doesn't have the right infrastructure and systems to sustain it properly. That is why we are having all of these problems. If you go to advanced countries, they have free education, which has helped their economy. So basically, it's actually a good thing, but the implementation is always a problem. And as the executive director of the Legion, we are here to put governments on their toes and all of that to make sure that whatever that they've said, they will do with free senior high, they're supposed to do it. Because I've seen the documentary and the food is really appalling. Very bad. And Ghana, as a country where we've reached, we shouldn't be feeding our senior high students with this kind of food. It's bad. It's food people would even feed their dogs. I mean, it's that bad. So that's my view on.
Which senior high school did you go?
I went to Ganata Senior High.
Ganata, okay.
Yeah.
At the time, what kind of food did you enjoy, and what was the situation compared to what you learn now from your friends, relatives, and even from this documentary?
Okay, so I remember back, I think before we even started this conversation, we were even talking about milk and everything. I remember every breakfast that we had was accompanied with milk, with a tin of milk. Like, I think there were 5 tins of milk on every table. Yes, cocoa, rice water, all of it, Tom Brown, tea. It was okay. It wasn't the best, but it was manageable. I could remember very well.
I mean, it's a story I relate to as well, because I've also been in senior high school, and of course, everyone will tell you that SHS food is not like your favorite restaurant. Yeah. But if you compare that to what we have now, and Abigail, it tells you about milk, five at every table. When the situation was not improving, was that the same story? Did you have milk? Did you have some of these protein sources, or there were just a lot of carbs?
Okay, so we had milk just for tea. Yeah, tea was the thing that we had milk for. But porridge, the normal Awuza porridge, the Kondo one, those things, we didn't have milk for it. And then our sardines too, I think initially used to be 4 tins, but later it reduced. And then I think at some point we're not even getting the sardines again. So
okay. So I'll come to Mr. Medume shortly and ask him whether he believes this is something, the current food situation is something we can pin on free senior high school, because some may say that the challenge with food and all these problems in senior high school long predate senior high school. But let's learn from Zambia what they've been doing there, because Zambia has also been implementing sort of a free senior high school program, and Charles Mafa is a Zambian investigative journalist. He's connecting with us on Zoom. So Charles, you've heard from our panel here in Ghana about how poor the food situation has been recently. What kind of model of free senior high school or free education are you implementing in Zambia? Do you provide food as well? Boarding, is it taken care of by the government? What kind of model are you implementing?
Yeah, well, good evening, everyone. The Zambian model actually it's not compulsory that you have to provide food, but it's compulsory that from early childhood education to secondary education, it's free education. So free in the sense that it's not entirely free per se, because you have to buy uniforms and or the biggest step is the fact that students don't pay school fees. I think that's an important decision that was made in a country where you have the majority of poor and struggling, to get by life. So that's an important decision, and the fact that it covers secondary education, because in part of free education from early childhood to primary level, and also loans and bursaries for higher education. So that's the format that we were using. But now in primary school and those at secondary level have to pay fees apart from other school requirements that they have to buy, for their children. So that is the Zambian situation. But I think picking from what the gentleman on the panel there was talking about, yes, space in terms of other school requirements is the same also in Zambia. I think in terms of enrollments have increased from the study that was done by a committee at Parliament, and the enrollment levels increased by close to 10%. So that's a big number. And then also, the numbers of teachers as well is not too good. It was standing at about 135,000 shortfall, and then government employed 34,000 plus 30,000. That number to about 85,000. So we still have those gaps that need addressed. But I think that for a country like Zambia, this is a very important decision, regardless of the charter there.
Right. I mean, when it comes to secondary school in particular, which is what is analogous to what we have here as high schools, is the government taking care of the cost when it comes to students being in the boarding house? Or they're just paying for day students? Are they paying for boarding cost that comes to the feeding morning, afternoon, evening?
No, those who want to take their children into boarding school, there's a small fee that the parents are asked to pay. $35 which is 1,000 kwacha in Zambian kwacha. So that fee is high for the majority Zambians. But yes, government provides money, but this money is not enough. That's why for those who are boarding set-up arrangement, parents are asked to contribute, and at the moment they're going to that should be about $35 or so, which is 1,000 Zambian kwacha.
Okay, so Charles, please hold it there for me. I know you'd take early leave of us, but I want to come back to you again, so please hold it there for me. Let me come to Kwaku Asante. You've heard from the Zambian experience where parents have to chip in a little bit to support government, particularly if you are taking your kids to the boarding school. I want to ask you, is the current challenge we are facing with feeding, accommodation, and all, in particular feeding, is it attributable to free SHS? You've been supplying for some time now. Has the situation always been like this, or the in terms of government paying you so they can supply has worsened over the years since free SHS started?
When we started, it was better. It was good. We're all not complaining. But before I proceed, let me make the point here that the food that they cook for the students has nothing to do with suppliers, because we deliver quality food stuffs with required standards. And we are vetted at the center of delivery before acceptance, and then payment is done. And so that is settled. It has to do with the caterers and then the school management, if we must question the quantity of the food we are delivering to the people. So to answer your question you posed earlier, when we started in 2017, there were no complaints. Let me make the point. Government must realize that before you can succeed in the implementation of the free SHS as expected, you must look for money to invest more in the food delivery.
But government
the
budgets
student
almost every year. I mean,
yes, the government budget.
7 billion.
Yes, government budget. Yes, no, not 7, about 2 billion Ghana cedis for food delivery alone is what government has spent. But government needs more. Government needs more to stock the food. Government has, through buffer stock, storage facilities across all the farming communities with well-fitted silos. I have been to all those centers, and government only needs money to put into it. Don't take me back. You detracted me a bit. I was driving to a point. I was trying to get to a point where I was trying to tell you that if government must succeed, the government must take care of the food, because it's the food that brings the poorer students to the school. I've met students. I mean, I don't really talk to students who school in Accra, but out there in Accra, out of Accra, to the hinterland, to the north, to the Volta region, and all those places, the food is what takes them to the school. Because some at home, you won't get the food to eat. So if I'm encouraged that at school, I'll get food, I will go and get food, and then that's why the enrollment is increasing. So if students are beginning to complain about quality in the food, in the cooking, then we should look at the caterers who are cooking. What is the supervision? And one of the challenges facing free SHS is a free supervision. Who is supervising who, and who is supervising the supervisor, and who is to ensure that the supervisor does his work? That's a challenge. Apart from the money we are talking about, the challenge also has to do with supervision. Yes, we attempt to supervise, but with a lot of deficiency. If all this can be improved, we can look at the processes of acquisition and who is to take care of the foodstuffs, who is to do the storage, because some of the foodstuffs, especially maize, beans, when it is stored for a longer period, it deteriorates. And what happens to those beans when they get deteriorated? Do they cook them for the student? Those questions can be answered if you do good supervision.
I mean, Abigail, we've heard from Zambia. I mean, when you were in school and you had to almost always call your parents to send you money so that you can be buying food from the canteen, or send you enough provisions so that you can stock up, because the food in the dining hall was not enough or not quality enough. Were there at any point in time where students really felt like maybe they should let us pay for this, so that, I mean, because if, maybe I guess the question I should be asking you first is, did you have any explanation for why the food was getting bad in terms of quality, and then even more importantly, in terms of quantity? Did anybody explain to you why the situation was changing, or you just had to go to the dining hall and make do what you had?
So no explanation was made to us. We just had to go to the dining hall and then eat what was given to us. That was what was happening in the squad.
In terms of you students, did you at any point feel like maybe your parents should be paying?
Of course, yes, because sometimes you go to the dining hall and then you break a bread, you see weevils in it. So some of us, we felt our parents, at least by God's grace, they have their money, so at least they could have paid for something. After all, SHS is not so much money that you have to pay. Although the government is helping, but then our parents could have also supported. They will not pick up the full cost. They will just help somewhere.
Bright, is that the same sense you get? Bright, you were also in school and you enjoyed free SHS. Hello, Bright. Is Bright on the Zoom? Okay, I'll get to Bright shortly. But Willis, the Zambian experience, they are Charles tells us that students who have to go to boarding house, their parents have to pay the equivalent of $35. If you bring it to Ghana city now, with city around 13 cities, 13.5, that is just a little around 400 Ghana cities, or a little over that. Is it time that we introduce something of the sort that free senior high school should probably be for day students? If you want to be in boarding house, then pay for it.
Yeah. That's a good point, because what makes the senior high education expensive is the feeding, right? Yes. So then if the day students are free, I mean, they don't have to pay and it's free of charge for them, that really makes sense. And initially, I don't know how much we used to pay for boarding house. Do you have any idea? The school fees for boarding house?
Around the time we used to pay per it was a term. It's over like
Yeah, I think it was the
300
term.
cedis per
300
term.
cities. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in today's money, it's not a lot of money, but I should assume like maybe 6 years ago, yes, it was worth it. But I still believe that.
Yeah, please make the point.
Yeah, I still believe that if it's the whole senior high system is mean tested, as in people who live in areas that is riddled with poverty.
Yeah.
I mean, those people could be given scholarships.
Yeah.
And people who live in urban areas or in rich neighborhoods, if I should say, should be allowed to pay. Because today I watched the documentary with a colleague here, and she went to Holy Child, and she was telling me how appalling the food was even when she was there, because she also went through the free senior high. I didn't go through it though, but she did. And she said sometimes her mother has to come and donate food to help support the food system in even Holy Child, which is even a category A school. And if it got to that level, it means that parents are already knee deep in providing food for their wards in senior high. So yeah.
So it's something that government should be. I mean, I remember Ken Oforiatta talking about what he believes to be the inequity in the system, and suggesting that as finance minister, I mean, he's well to do enough. He does not believe that he should drop his kid off at SHS and not pay anything. Now, PTAs are not paying. So, I mean, Kwaku Asante, let me take you off the main supply job that you do, and also take your view on this. Will it seem to believe that, listen, it's time to review the program in such a way that make it that persons who are entering boarding house, where we are going to be fed substantively, should pay some amount of money. Maybe in some communities, you can do means testing, identify persons who need scholarships, and probably give them scholarships because they just can't pay. Maybe they are from Navrongo, they go to Chimota school, or they are from Navrongo and got Presec. Is that a view that you think government should be considering going into the future?
Of course, free SHS after 2017 till date, we need to look at it again. And it's not only who pays and who doesn't pay. It's a holistic approach we need to look at, from how we can be able to raise enough funding to sustain it. Government cannot continue to fund this on its budget. It is not doable, because we know how government is suffering in an attempt to finance this free SHS in these difficult times. But I don't want to say it is too expensive, and I don't want to say because of that some should be encouraged and some should be paid and some should not be paid. Who determines who is a poor person? Who determines who can afford and who? It will complicate issues. We should go and look for money and fund this free SHS. It's a good policy. In fact, it is for the benefit of the ordinary man's child on the street. If it is time for elections, politicians find money to send and transport ballot boxes to every corner of this country at a very expensive cost to the taxpayer. So if it is time for the ordinary man to also benefit from the kitty of the national budget, I don't see it to be expensive.
Okay. Willis? Yeah, I want to ask a question. Do you think the government is complacent?
No, the government is not complacent. You see, every government policy has 8 sides, good sides and defects. Free SHS is a good policy. Every right-thinking member of society would accept free SHS because of the needs of society, of the needs of the ordinary man's son. What we need is continual review of the policy. Mm-hmm. Now, students are complaining of quality. We've also complained as suppliers. Even government has also its own challenges regarding its implementation. It is important we have a stakeholder consultation regarding how we should improve it. It's a good policy by all standards, but as we have enrolled it, or we have rolled it up to this point, we need to sit back and then do a rethinking of how we can improve it, how we can make it better, how we can expand it to reach other costs. If you want to take some of the cost and put the burden on the parent again, the parents are already burdened, even though they are doing free
but
SHS.
is that not the point that free senior high school and parents have to spend more sending to their children to buy food, provisions, than if they would have to contribute something so that the food quality could have been stabilized? Then the amount of money they have to be sending every day, because I have a little sister who went to senior high school. She's enjoying free SHS now. I don't have to pay fees, but that's great. But now, almost every week, you have to be sending money so that she can get food, because the food is not enough. She can't study the food. The quality is too good as well. So people are asking that, let parents help in and pay, and then because parents have been paying the fees for so long.
Parents can pay, but the conditions of the parents are not the same as it started. As you have alluded to the fact that they are still paying even more than when it wasn't free. We have improved. We have moved forward economically. The amount you buy fuel is increased. So whatever cost you thought they were not incurring, it is important they incur. We need to review the policy. Review means we look at all the phases of this policy. The infrastructure capacity of the education, our free SHS, our secondary school system. Infrastructure in the sense of student books, accommodation, social facilities, administrative. Let's look at that, and let's look at how we can keep the students in the schools by the provision, the small things the government intends to be providing. I cannot agree with anybody saying we should take some of the cost and hang it on the neck of the student, of the parent. The parents are doing enough already in this trying moment. Some of them are salary workers whose salaries have not been increased, but cost of doing business and cost of running around daily activities have increased. So we cannot be jumping on them and still claim we are doing free SHS.
Okay. I mean,
free must be free.
Okay, well,
even as it is now, it is not free. But we must maintain the small thing. Government must go and look for money and do it.
Okay, so following Kwaku's point, you mentioned that we shouldn't, we don't have to put a burden on our parents.
Yes.
Because it's free.
Yes.
Why do you have to pay?
Yeah.
But this is a case where I've met a lot of parents who I want to use the right word. They literally want to pay for their ward. I've met parents who have children in Achimota and Presec, and they were literally lamenting of how poor the food is and how they are willing to literally pay and make the food better so that everybody can enjoy. So I don't know. I think we should give the opportunity to parents who willingly want to donate or give food or money or whatever, maybe cash or kind, to the senior high schools. Because to be honest, the documentary that I saw, if it is the reality on the ground, we need to act. To be honest, I heard you say that most of the problem is based on supervision, as in when the food goes, when you deliver the food to the schools, what happens? You don't know what happens, right? Yes, and this all comes down to accountability. If there's no accountability from the top, it will trickle down to the grassroots, and this is something that we lack as Ghanaians. To be honest, if we could hold our leaders accountable and say who is the head of free senior high, why is it lacking, bring the person out, let's come and answer questions, press release, I think it will put a certain urgency to this matter, because it's really bad.
Really bad. I mean, Abigail, what was the situation also like when it came to accommodation, the dormitories and the classrooms?
Well, with accommodation, my house was a new house and it was very spacious. So I think with accommodation, we were about 14 in one dorm, but then it was wide, so we could manage. And then with the classrooms, I think that's where the problem is.
How many of you were in class?
I think my time we were about 50 something in class.
Well, when I was in senior high school, we were 90 in class.
Wow.
And the classroom was not bigger than this studio space extended times 2. So that was the situation. We're 90. Some of us were sitting right at the classroom. So maybe your 50 situation is much better, and we're not doing free SHs at the time.
Oh, but then even with the 50, around 50, the classroom wasn't that spacious. Sometimes when you're passing by, you're going to your seat, you have to just turn around. You have to squeeze yourself before you can go and sit down. Sometimes these chairs had bed bags, so you go and sit. One gets into your dress, you take it to your dorm. Vacation, you take it to your house. Your parents now have to go and buy insecticide spray and stuff to get rid of all these bed bags. So that was the problem with infrastructure.
So we'll come around the table as we prepare to wrap up. But let me go to Mafa. He's a Zambian journalist, and Mafa will take leave of us after this. So, Mafa, do you sense general public consensus around what your government is implementing, or there are still some bottlenecks that citizens are protesting against?
Yeah, well, I think the overall, like I said, well, a lot of people have embraced the idea, but of course, critics are there as well. In terms of, the government rushed, of course, to start implementing this policy because schools have not been expanded, and now many schools are overcrowded. And this government is fully aware of this because their own members of parliament who did a study and visited some schools, for example, up in the north, one of the schools that was visited, they found that pupils share a desk which is supposed to be shared by 3 pupils. There are 6 on a desk. So those are some of the results. But I think there's no way out because of what I said earlier, that yes, the governments are elected to serve the masses, and if governments don't serve the interests of the poor, then why should we elect them in office? So I think this is a good decision. But government has to find ways of addressing those challenges, the numbers of teachers that are still low, the classroom spaces, and of course, as well, we don't have teachers in subjects like mathematics and science. The numbers are still very low. So we need those areas to be addressed. But overall, I think this is the right decision. People elect government.
Did the policy come by way of a party promise? How did it come up? Was there some consensus among the political class, or some political party made a promise during the election and decided to implement it?
This law actually has been in place for a long time, but the previous governments were not brave enough to implement it. So what this government did while they were in opposition, they campaigned on the premise that they are going to introduce free education from early childhood to secondary, and also provide meal allowances to those in university. So it was an issue that was promised during election campaigns and then implemented later the following year. So there wasn't even any time to think through and see which other systems were supposed to be put in place before implementing it.
Right, thank you very much. Charles Mafa is a Zambian journalist giving us some real perspectives. And in fact, if I was listening to Charles and nobody told me he was a Zambian journalist, I probably thought he was talking about Ghana. Because again, he says there was a law and it had not been implemented for so long. In fact, Ghana's constitution also says there will be progressively free senior high school, never implemented up until 2008 when Akufo-Addo made it a big campaign promise, leading to 2016 when he won the election, started implementing it in 2017. But of course, the NDC also say that they started doing what they call the progressive free senior high school, with day students first and testing it the means. So we are going to get some messages shortly, but some parents have been calling into our shows, telling us what they feel about the situation. Listen to some parents tell us about the situation in the schools, the feeding situation, and what they think can be done about it. And thank you very much, Charles Mafa. We'll see you another time.
The doctor called from Wesley Girls High School, to be precise. And said, Daddy, they brought us the bags of rice, cooked as for us. And they've written on the bag, poultry feed.
They've written on the bags what?
Can you imagine?
Poultry feed. Poultry feed.
Yes, don't be surprised at all.
Poultry feed. And so the question is, what are the headmasters doing? Are they looking on for this food to be fed to the children?
It looks like this whole issue has been going back and forth, but I believe that the media also has a role to play.
Free SHS is a very good policy. No one can deny that. But
any system that is not ready for criticism is ready to fail. I repeat again, any system that is not ready for criticism is ready to fail. Because you can't do it alone. You have to get information from others to support yourself. There should be an arrangement so that the local people will supply what they have to ease the pressure on government. Just fast forward when this Ramadan was coming. We have to cook banku and send to school for our brothers. That's the reality on the ground. And the fact he also showed on TV and your distance, the program you're about to air.
So those are some parents sharing their views. Someone even talking about animal feed. What he thought was near animal feed being fed to students. I mean, that is a parent perspective. Michael, some more messages have been coming in on our WhatsApp console. What are people talking about?
Okay, someone is interested in what was your favorite food back in senior high school?
My favorite one was rice and konto beans. We used to have it, I think, on a Tuesday afternoon. In Form 1, that was my favorite. And then at some point, SHS, I don't know what is it. We just grow wings and we think we are above dining hall. Then we don't go again. Then we are hungry in the dining hall. And when people do what they call, they transport the food from dining hall.
You know the word is smuggling.
Yeah. And they bring it, we'll be fighting over it at the dormitory, but we'll not go. So I used to like the rice and konto beans a lot. It was some good standard, yeah.
I mean, fortunately for me, I wasn't under free SHS. But again, fortunately, I didn't go to boarding school right from Form 1.
Okay.
But even when I went, watching Wednesdays and Sundays was one of the best.
Okay.
The last day, we have something called Last Supper. We would definitely have jollof or fried rice
with egg
chicken
and
for the very first time, the whole semester. It was one of the best times. You see the DBs in their white, they want to come and eat jollof before they go home. But I mean, I don't think that's the situation now. But let's delve into some of the messages that some people have been sending us right from when our very own colleague Kwitinati started putting on some of these. And so this one is from Tema, connected from Tema. He says he wants us to call him Prof. Says, please, the problem is not just food. Last year, first year students spent 5 months to finish the academic year. Same students are in second year now, and per the calendar, they will spend 6 months to complete the entire academic year. The system needs total overhaul. So beyond the food challenges, and yesterday you heard from the headmaster that was on that, it goes beyond that. The issues of sanitation as well.
Yeah. Now,
this one says that, well, good evening, I can't get my head around this free education in Ghana. Why does a country like Ghana going around the world with begging bowl after a free boarding education? I remember a BBC journalist asking the president, then a candidate, how he was going to fund this. Please let parents pay for boarding whilst the day is free. Thank you. And this one didn't come with a name, but it has a suggestion as to how we can go about this. It says, well, to give my view on the free access policy, feeding should be taken out of the policy. That being said, all schools should be retooled and declassified so that you don't have somebody who was in the northern region wants to come to Presec Legon and has to come all the way to Accra. By 4, you have to give them
but the
boarding
problem
school.
is if we decide that we are going to make it day school, it means
we are going to make all schools the same level.
If you are in Navrongo, it means you don't get access to schools like a Chimota school. I mean,
it's not about getting access to a Chimota. You get the same quality in where you so they don't have to travel to go to that school. It goes on to say that our government should let parents take the cost of uniforms, exercise books, textbooks. Now, schools management should be taxed to deal with all procurements, to deal with some of the shortfalls that we're also seeing. This one has also a solution here. It says, well, feeding should be taken out of the policy. This one also says that, well, decentralize the buffer stock to allow head source food items within localities in their catchment area. This is from Sir Joe, who's connecting from Tamale. Still in Tamale, though, Augustine says, well, let's be serious with our education. Decentralized food supply to the district level. Education Ministry needs to strengthen its monitoring of food. They can fix CCTV at kitchen. Well, we tried that with exams. I don't know how far that went. Now, it says increased allocation per child. We were told by the Teachers Educational Workers Union that as it stands now, one student is budgeted per day 150 pesos.
150 pesos.
That's not a lot.
It's really a bad figure. But Michael, thank you very much. Some of the messages. This one from Abusa Jackson in Cape Coast says, Kwaku, good evening to you and your team. It looks like we are focusing only about food, but the sanitation system in all these schools is just another problem. I wish FM will look at the toilet system. He says the situation is terrible, and in terms of how students are able to access this sanitation system. This one too says, good evening, should be free for people from the public to JHS, and those from the private should pay half of what they paid in JHS. That is his suggestion. A number of messages have come in. We also did a poll about whether or not we must urgently review the program, and 89% of Ghanaians says yes, there must be an urgent review of the free senior high school program, whilst 11% say no, let's maintain it as it is. So we are just about to leave here. Kwaku, what is the way forward? What should government be doing? Your group, stakeholders, what should we be doing to get the situation improved?
Let me respond to someone, one of the texters who said we should decentralize buffer stock. In fact, buffer stock is decentralized. Buffer stock has warehouses in all the farming communities. So, in fact, buffer stock have developed a capacity to buy and hoard food items. And as I said earlier, the problem boils down to cash. And I've also said that apart from the cash that government needs to improve the processes, efficiency, to cut down costs, to improve cooking of the food items. I have heard somebody says they should allow the teachers to access or to go and procure the food items. We are here complaining about how the food is cooked. It's not cooked well, the quantity and all that, which a headmaster is supposed to ensure that those things are done well. Apart from that, headmasters are bedeviled with managing the student itself, like managing the student body as a whole. These are formative stages of students, and it is a responsibility of the headmaster to supervise and ensure that those students are brought up disciplined. Apart from that, they are responsible for the management of the school, the teachers and the administrative staff of the students. They are also responsible for the fixtures and fittings on the schools and all that. And you cannot be inviting more responsibilities to already burden responsibilities you are carrying. You understand what I'm saying? Already, buffer stock has the capacity to do some of the things and ensure, because buffer stock has its own suppliers who have capacity to even support government at the time of need. In 2022, government didn't have money. We gave them government for the entire year who supply on credit. Can the teachers be able to go access the food stuff from the market on free and then be watching government for over 2 years for the money to be paid? They cannot. Government doesn't give suppliers money to go and buy the food stuff. Okay. Well, we have capacity. We borrow. Sometimes we use our credibility to source for funding to support government in its implementation. So we have come far in this implementation. Right. They should rather they are already part of the process. In fact, teachers are already part of the process because perishables, they procure the perishables. They are also bedeviled with a lot of challenges in those areas.
Right. Thank you very much, Kwaku. Willis, what should we be doing if you can do that for me in 30 seconds?
Oh, 30 seconds. Okay. So, Free Senior High is a very good initiative. I really believe in it. The problem is that it's in its beginning stages, like in its teething stage. So, right now, it needs to be reviewed and there needs to be an overhauling because there are a lot of things that are not going right. So, yeah.
Abigail, what should we be doing?
So, looking at the economic hardship in the country, I don't think we need to burden the parent that much. So I think the government can take part of the cost and give the other part to the parents to take care of. Yeah, that's what I think we can do.
Right. Thank you very much, Abigail and Kwaku Amedume, as well as Willis joining me in studio. You heard from Bright Boachado, also on Zoom, as well as Charles Maffa, a Zambian journalist. This has been Ghana Connect, connecting on this very important matter about the free senior high school program, the food situation, and what we can all do to fix that situation. Thank you very much again, Kwaku Amedume, with the Buffer Stock Suppliers Association, Abigail Ado, a former free SHS student, Willis Kobe Idrisu, Executive Director of Legends, Bright Boachado, a former SHS student as well, and then Charles Maffa, a Zambian journalist, discussing what we can all do to improve the situation regarding free senior high school. For those of you who join us on WhatsApp, thanks very much. My name is Kwaku Asante. Next week again, we'll be coming your way with another exciting edition of Ghana Connect. Have a good evening.